Hello everyone, Unknown Reefer here, bringing you another coral review. This one is going to be for this nice big bit of chalice that I've got down here. Now, I've had a couple of chalices in my time. I had one this sort of size, which I would say probably from there to there is getting on for nearly 4 inches across, especially as it curves up and it's growing up over the rock. I've had this one and another one I had in my time, and I also bought a little frag. The little frag I bought, maybe my tank wasn't really ready for it. I was starting out reef keeping, Pedro the tang, and it just died off. I couldn't give it the right amount of light, and it just withered away into nothing. I got it from an online seller with lots of different packs. I actually got this at about 2.5 inches off of a local reefer, and I got one even bigger than this, a nice big bright red one, which was lovely, but it was on one of my other tanks, my 4 foot really tall tank, not much taller than this, and I installed some T5s to give it some extra light in the tank, and within about a week of me installing the T5s, the nice big bit of red chalice just died away. I did try cutting it away from the edges and then dipping it in RX dip to bring it back to life from the receding, but it wasn't a disease or anything. It was purely I subjected it to too much light too quickly. So one thing I have noticed is that in my opinion they don't like huge amounts of light. It's the same as Lobos that I've had in the past. They just do not do well in highlight places. I'm sure some people do have them in highlight and they probably acclimatise them. I personally don't get a huge amount of time to spend on my tank, so although it's a bit of a bad reefer, I tend to just chuck stuff in the tank and hopefully it survives. Hence a couple of bits of SPS up here, one at the back there and this one here, that I've lost a little bit of colour when they went into my tank because my lights are maybe a bit brighter than the seller that I bought them from, but they are slowly starting to get their colours back and their polyps are out, so I may have dodged a bit of a bullet with that, but yeah, it's a bit laziness and a bit of I don't really have time to keep moving corals about over several days to acclimatise them to my light, so I tend to stick something in the tank and hope for the best. But enough waffling on, let's just talk about this chalice. No idea what type it is, but I would say it's one of the nicest corals in my tank. Just when you really closely look at it, the colours and the textures that are in here are absolutely amazing. Like I say, since it's been in this tank, it's probably grown. You see where that lip comes up? It's gone over in the, again, about 8 months I've had this tank going. It's probably grown by about that much. It was just touching this rock at the back when I put it in. In fact, it kept falling off, so I had to sort of wedge another bit of rock under here and glue it all together, glue it on. And then it's just grown crazy out like that in about 8 months. So they do grow relatively fast. You're not going to be sat with nothing happening on them. Again, like the ACAM video I said, I'll give you a shot from back at the tank. They are extremely bright, even though where it is under the light, so the light's up here in the centre. I'm going to give you top down, so that's my Monty, and there's the chalice. So the light's coming down on this rock, and this is actually quite a shaded part of the tank. It's glowing that brightly, not because it's getting lots of light, just because they just glow really, really brightly. I say it's been through various nutrient swings and my new tank syndrome and overfeeding the tank to try and deal with ick. So they are relatively hardy, I would say. They tolerate conditions going up and down, and I've even had sort of some sand get blown on it, and I think I had a dead snail on there the other day. Just decided to fall off a rock and die on top of the chalice. Didn't seem to affect it. The only thing I found affects them is if you go too much light, definitely too fast, or what I suspect is just too much light. Get a cheap frag of it, won't be anywhere near as big as that, or buy a nice chunk off a local reefer. Get a chunk of it, stick it in a reasonably low light area, and just leave it alone. It does get a reasonable amount of flow because the power head's up here, and obviously it bounces off that wall and comes back. The only thing I do say is I sometimes notice this edge kind of, sort of, the lip folds back on itself a little bit in the flow on the odd day, but it doesn't seem to upset it. It's still growing nicely. Yeah, so there's my review and a bit of waffling of Chalice Coral.